Okay, hello everybody. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for spending your Thursday evening here. My name is Heaven. I'm the Associate Director of Public Engagement here at SAM. And thank you for being here for our talk related to our current special exhibition, Farm to Table, Art, Food, and Identity in the Age of Impressionism. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge that the Seattle Art Museum is on the traditional territories of the Coast Salish people. We honor our ongoing connection to these communities, past, present, and future. We say this as a thank you to the people that have stewarded this land and acknowledge the community's continued presence here today. Tonight, we are hosting a talk inspired by Farm to Table. This exhibition showcases the late 19th century French Impressionist paintings that explore how local identity is tied to food, and how farms, markets, and meals were transformed in the wake of the Franco-Prussian War. Not only has this exhibition provided Sam with the opportunity to share these iconic Impressionist works, but it also offers a thesis that, similar to today, food culture was a powerful signifier in 19th century France. This has inspired a host of exciting programs exploring historical, artistic, and economic impact of food in our lives. In today's panel conversation, we'll connect these historic themes to realities of today's food systems in Washington and Seattle. From strengthening local farmers markets to advocating for farm worker rights, from reducing food insecurity and building pathways to employment, our discussion will explore how these forces shape what's on our tables. We're offering a talk series about the Seattle local food scene, so be sure to come back next month as well on our December 11th talk featuring Chef Daisley Gordon and J. Kenji Lopez-Alt. We also have a film series curated by Scarecrow Video. It's a regular and we also have farm to table exhibition tours, including some in French, as well as an art exhibition that's right outside these doors where the tables are, that was curated and made by our teen arts group. On every first, second, and third Saturday, we also have live music and art making in our Brotman Forum, which is where the clouds are hanging, which is completely free. And during this, you can also enjoy a limited time offer from our market, who developed a French menu in connection to the exhibition. And these are only some of the programs that we offer related to Farm to Table, so be sure to check out the website to see other offerings. And if Farm to Table wasn't enough, there's other special exhibitions going on currently, including our Betty Bowen Award winner, Tarika Waters' Venus is Missing exhibition. And we also have our upcoming special exhibition, so this will be the next one after Farm to Table, which is Beyond Mysticism, the Modern Northwest. And SAM is only one of our three sites, if you weren't aware. So we also oversee the Olympic Sculpture Park and the Seattle Asian Art Museum. Our current special exhibition at the Asian Art Museum is Anila Aga, which is these amazing sculptures that features light and shadows. And we also still have Ai Weiwei's water lilies at the Seattle Asian Art Museum. The Seattle Asian Art Museum also features a talk series. We have a couple coming up. One we hold in a partnership with Asia Society that will feature a chat with a local filmmaker, Bao Tran. And then every second Saturday, we host Saturday University, which is a connection to the University of Washington, where we feature talks about Asian art and culture. So, as you can see, we do so much all the time here, and that was only just the tip of the iceberg of all the things that we do. And since there's always so much going on, we highly recommend that you become a member. Thank you to any members that are here in the audience today. We really appreciate your support. That's the best way to support the museum and these public programs that we get to offer to you all. So let's lean back a little bit into Farm to Table. We gather at a moment when food, community, and culture is intertwined in more ways than ever. And tonight, we'll explore that intersection. This program invites the trace to the journeys from soil to stalls, from the earth where the food is grown, to the vibrant markets where it's traded, to the tables where it's served and it nourishes our lives. Our three remarkable speakers bring distinct perspectives, who I'll briefly introduce before I hand it over to our moderator. We have Kelly Kuby, who is the operations manager of the Seattle Farmers Market Association, who oversees 4 neighborhood markets. We have Rosalinda Guillen, founder of Community to Community, whose work uplifts farm workers, labor rights, and food sovereignty. And we have Meg Vieira, Senior Vice President of social enterprise at Fair Start, leading job training through food for communities that are facing barriers. So we'll hear about how local food systems here in Washington are shaped by history, by art, by labor, by markets, and by you. And the journey ahead runs deeper than what ends up on our plates. It includes the fields, the farms, the hands and the voices and the systems. So whether you're a passionate market goer, a food justice advocate, a curious art lover, or a combination of any of those, you bring a voice to this gathering. And so I encourage you to listen, to engage, to ask questions, and reflect on how you connect to the food networks around you. After the panel, we'll have a chance for Q&A. And then after the program, there are tables outside from all the panel's organizations, which I highly encourage that you check out. And the museum is open until 8 p.m., so you'll have a little bit of time afterwards to check out the exhibition if you haven't already. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming our moderator, Tan Vinh. He's a food and drink writer and a host of the Seattle Eats podcast, and he will introduce our panel and kick off the discussion. Everybody, please give a warm welcome.
Thank you for making it out on such a tough day. Weather isn't good, rush hour traffic, and still you came. Just wait for these people to sit down here. Come on down. I'm excited to be up here because what these three do are just amazing, and I don't think people realize the role they play in our food system and in the community and in helping the poor and the needy. I want to give another introduction, if I may, just so we can get a better sense of what they do. To my left here is Rosalinda Guillen. She's the founder of C2C, Community to Community, an advocate for farm workers. She has fought for better working and living conditions for many immigrants who work in the berry fields in California and Washington State. She herself was a farmer in Lacana, here in Skagit Valley. She's represented farm workers on legislative issues such as immigration, climate change, and labor and human rights. Please welcome Rosalinda. And we have a representative from Fair Start, a James Beard award-winning nonprofit that provides food and job training to many of the neediest in the Seattle area. Meg Vieira is the Senior Vice President of Social Enterprise at Fair Start. She helps oversees its restaurant, cafe, catering service, and other meal programs that Fair Start runs. The programs that she runs have become a model for many inner cities across the country. Welcome, Vera. Meg. And last but not least, if you have ever been to the farmers market in Ballard, Madrona, Wallingford, or Madison Park, you've seen the handiwork of Kelly Kubey. She's as the operator managers of the Seattle Farmers Market Association. She recruits and manages the vendors and staff and makes sure all the permitting and licensing requirements are met. That's not a fun job, I can tell you that right now. She's already my hero. And she also served as board secretary for FarmWorld Washington, the nonprofit arm of her organization that we're going to talk about. Welcome, Kelly. Kelly, tell people your nickname.
Oh, is this the 85 degrees and sunny? Yes, people will call me 85 degrees and sunny. I definitely have a very positive personality. Yes.
That's good, because some of the topics that we're going to talk about is kind of depressing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to rely on you to make it 85 and sunny.
Sounds good.
We have a saying in journalism here, and that is, there's always a food angle. That's because we can all relate to food. We all need food. Just take an example right now of how things relate to food. What's a big issue here? The economy, inflation, the government shutdown recently. You know what that translates to me? That translates to higher grocery prices, restaurant menus just skyrocketing, especially in Seattle, one of the highest in the country, and the fact that 43 million people qualify for food stamps and were struggling in recent weeks about where do we get the next meal. So I want to start there, because all these three organizations have played a role in helping people who need food stamps or in providing some assistance. Let's start with you, Rosalinda, because I think there's a misconception that, hey, and actually I did hear someone say this. It was one of our readers who wrote to the Seattle Times that, no, this can't be right. Migrants or Mexican workers don't qualify for food stamps. They're all illegal. But that is not true. And in fact, it's a big issue that the community is dealing with now. Can you tell me some of the plights that a lot of the Mexican farm workers are facing? Because I don't think people realize a lot do qualify for food stamps, and a lot are struggling because of the conditions.
I just wanted, oh, my microphone's working. That is absolutely true, and it's actually been that way for quite a long time. And I think that for farm workers, you know, there's been times in the history, our history, when the farm workers couldn't even afford to purchase the very food that they were harvesting, the very food that they helped to grow and harvest and that went to the store that landed on all of your plates. But SNAP and some of these other services have closed a gap during some of the most difficult times for farm worker families. And this has happened recently. We have been getting calls. People are worried about, you know, how are they going to make ends meet, especially in the wintertime. And food is really one of the key issues that they look to be able to keep their family healthy. So the qualification on who gets food stamps, you know, I think that that's such a, well, for us, for our organization, that's where the human rights comes in. How can that possibly be that, you know, you have to have some special qualification in order to be able to get food stamps? But right now, it has become extremely difficult. And watching the news and waiting for, you know, the EBT card to show up and for you to be able to go and purchase food for your family has become a very stressful issue, along with some other issues that are happening related to deportations and immigration and other issues. But the fact is that for farm workers, they have been able to get food stamps for quite a while. So this is affecting farm worker families just as much as it's affecting all of the other families. This new, I do want to call it an attack, a new wave of identifying farm workers or brown people as farm workers, or quote unquote illegal and not qualified, not just for food stamps, but for other rights in this country, has become very intense and stressful for farm worker families all across Washington state. Of course, as you know, all across the country. So we deal in our organization, we deal not just with handing out food, which a lot of organizations are helping, which is great, but in trying to give hope and listen and support and be sure that they know that we're there with them to try to figure out solutions to what's happening right now in this country, where the politics is going, and how to deal with that, how to assess their well-being into the future.
Yeah, thanks. And I want to ask people in this audience here, have anyone been to Guest Chef Night at Fair Start? Oh, quite a few. That's awesome. Huh? Oh. So I assume everyone here knows that Fair Start trained a lot of servers and cooks who goes on to find jobs. Meg, tell me from your perspective, because I don't think people realize who are these people that are trained. A lot of them qualify for food stamps, don't they?
Absolutely. I love all the supporters, and Guest Chef Night in the room can raise their hands. And most of you know that our North Star at Fair Start is job training and employment for students, those experiencing traditional barriers to employment, which means, yes, the majority of our students, over 70%, receive SNAP benefits. We were in the unique position to make our students whole through a stipend process during the shutdown. We know that, as Rosalinda stated, food is not only a basic right, but to be able to show up and train, to learn, and to feel empowered, you have to be able to have nutrition and be able to feed your family and have food on the table. So it's it's the impact of what we're trying to do. People have to be able to eat, whether it's the people we serve through our community meal program or to just allowing our students to show up. I think the economic pressures and the things happening outside in the community right now, those basic rights make it very difficult for organizations like Fair Start and other nonprofits to operate and to be able to continue to add value to what we're trying to do and into the community with the individuals we work with. So yeah, we had a direct response internally for our students because they very much rely on SNAP to feed themselves. And then also we have a significant portion of our training program is funded by the SNAP EBT training benefits. And so that provides wraparound services for our students and funding for our training program.
So for them, did you provide stipends, financial assistance?
What we did is we just added to their stipend for the SNAP benefits for during the shutdown and ongoing through the end of the year. So that's just something we were able to do through our fundraising team and philanthropy dollars, is to make sure they didn't feel that and they could still show up every day to participate in the program. That's the last thing we want, is our students to be able to not show up, not be able to focus, there's so many barriers that they're experiencing. Food should not be a barrier in this city, in this country, in this world, and especially when there's plenty of food to go around. So that's the one small piece we could do to add for our students to this time, so they could still show up and be part of the program.
Yeah. And Kelly, you run these farmer markets. And I think it's funny because I'm a refugee, so farm to table is just a very concept. It has this stigma like in the United States, where I feel like farm to table is mostly middle class and white people. And I think even when people look at farmers market, like who uses the farmer market? And I think most people, whether they want to admit it or not, is people who have a little money or can afford it. But I don't think people realize that the farmer markets you run, people on food stamps actually benefit a lot because they do get more bang for their buck. So it's like a 2-for-1 deal. So explain how this works, because I think it's one of the best kept secrets.
Well, there's multiple programs that we offer. A lot of them right now have been at stake. But the ones that we've traditionally offered are our SNAP Market Match. So if you have food stamps, if you come to the farmer's market, let's say you get $25 out on your EBT food stamp card, we double that money. And that money pays for fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, and you can go to the farmer's market and get, food from the farmer's hands to yours, some of the freshest food for people that may be food insecure. And we also offer the Fresh Bucks program, which if you go to the store and you get a Mountain Dew, let's say, there's that sweetened beverage tax, and that actually funds the Fresh Bucks program. And that's a lottery system, and people that are offered the Fresh Bucks program can buy fresh fruits and vegetables at the market as well. And we also have our WIC and Farmers Market Nutrition program for moms with children and then seniors. And again, it's an amount that you can go and spend at the farmers market every market day to buy fresh fruits and vegetables. Many people don't know about that doubling of the money, and so anywhere I go, whenever I talk about what I do for a living, I always make sure that that's something that comes up in conversation. With SNAP benefits being cut for a little bit, they're coming back, but we actually offered at our farmers market through our nonprofit arm, Farm food access to those that were in need. So people that our usual participants of the SNAP program could have access to $40 every market day that we raise through the community so that they didn't have any gap in the time the government shut down SNAP, and they were able to still come to the farmers market and get a benefit. We also have a huge food pantry that we've been offering free to everybody. You don't need to tell us why you need the food. You just walk right in. And those are from our actual farmers that are contributing food. Every morning, we set up this lovely little pantry. People can go in with no barriers to access, and they can get the food that they need. Yeah. So those are some, yeah.
And it just pains me that a lot of people don't realize this because they don't equate this with the farmers market. For me, as a refugee, it's like farm to table is just a very common term. And I remember as a little kid, actually this is very fitting, Thanksgiving is coming up, and a Lutheran family that sponsored me, they were making Thanksgiving dinner for me, and they made this green bean casserole. And then I said, okay, green bean casserole. And then what they did was they opened a can, and out comes some mushroom. And they opened another can, and there are fried onions. And then I was really impressed. And they opened the third can, and it was green beans. And I was like, I thought it was like a magic trick. Like, it's like someone put a rabbit out of a hat. Because I never seen beans out of a can. Because I just grew up in Vietnam where you just buy groceries every day because you'll have refrigeration. So then I was so amazed. I said, do it again, Miss Hoffman. And like she would make it rain, and she would open another can of green beans, another can. And it was for me an epiphany that, wow, not everyone goes the farm to table route. And sadly, when it comes to farm to table, it has a stigma, or not stigma, it has this niche, was like, it's for white and middle class people. And if you don't believe me, do this test. I'm a restaurant critic and a writer. I get press release of restaurant openings all the time. And you know the buzzwords? They always write this, and you can Google it. We're a new restaurant specializing in farm to table. And it's always a high-end restaurant that sends me this press release, and that's always the words that they use. Sorry, that concludes my TED Talk on farm to table. Another big issue that I think a lot of farms are facing is the labor force itself. Rosalinda, I realize that right now there are a lot of farm workers that need jobs. And it's not because of ICE cracking down on farmers. There's another issue at play here that I don't think people realize. Tell me why so many farm workers, are unemployed or need jobs.
This is something I'm really become very passionate about, and this has been going on for several years. So the issue of labor, I mean, you're talking about farm to table and food. Without farm workers in this country and in this state, the agricultural industry and the family farming systems and the food systems in general, when you're looking at fresh food, which is what people really need to be healthy, without farm workers who are mostly immigrants from Mexico and other areas of South America, the labor component of getting that food to the marketplace is almost non-existent. But in the last few years, I should say in the last 10 years or so in Washington State, a program called the H-2A, which is a federal program, a visa program called the H-2A, has been importing farm workers mostly from Mexico to work on the farms here in Washington State. So mind you, farm workers in Washington State have been here for generations. We have been working the land. We're professional farm workers. I'm a third generation farm worker. And we're skilled in the work that we do. And there's families, multiple families in Washington State that have been working for the same farmers, the same area, for 20, 30 years. But they know that they can't make it and they need higher wages. They need to be able to not have to use food stamps, to be able to buy their own food. But what's happened lately, the importation of farm workers has caused a displacement of jobs that farm worker families and farm workers have had for years. And so the displacement has raised the poverty wages because there's more unemployment of the professional farm workers that are here in Washington State. And so what this has caused is a growing number. Right now, this year, 36,800 workers were imported into Washington State by mostly industrial agriculture, the tree fruit industry in Eastern Washington, and some of the berry farmers in Western Washington, in my area. So what I'm saying is that's 36,000 farm workers that lost their jobs in Washington State. It affects local rural economies. And this program is causing, especially in rural areas, displacement of farm workers in their jobs, and job security has gotten worse and it continues to grow. The impact of this H-2A program, I'm just gonna give one example of what happened to us in Whatcom County. A corporate farm called Sadvanan Farms imported 750 farm workers from Mexico. And this farm is located in Sumas, 1,500 acres, 750 farm workers. Do you know what the population of Sumas, Washington is? 1,702. So imagine, and that's just one town. This is happening across rural Washington. Displaced, just turning the local population upside down by importing this number of workers that are then there 6 to 8 months, sometimes 9 months out of the year. In the meantime, the farm worker families that were in their area totally lost income in their jobs. It just like drops the well-being, the economic well-being of farm worker families. So this causes unemployment in workers that are US-based, US citizens that have been working for years in local rural areas. This is why the need for food stamps exists in the area. This is why what's happening now in the deportation of local farm workers has caused an even bigger stress in rural Washington state and in the farm worker communities.
Yeah, and I want to take this from another perspective also, and that is some of the mom and pop farms. Actually, I would love to see a show of hands. How many of you guys, not Pike Place Market, but have been to your local farmers market? It doesn't have to be every week, but here and then, oh wow, that's great. That's awesome. I love that because, you hear the term third place, and that is the place between work and their home. For me, as a food journalist, I get a lot of story ideas from going to the farmer's market and talking directly to the farmer. I never realized what great cooks they are, because some of the best recipes I've gotten are from these vendors. But also talking to them, I was talking about a lot of challenges in terms of even going and being a vendor. And so Kelly, you know this better than me, so I'll let you take it away. Some of the challenges a vendor has, because it's quite a task for a vendor to even show up at a farmer's market.
Yes.
And I want you to explain that.
Well, my team and I, we've always talked about doing this thing called the journey of the tomato. Actually, was really thought of Joy Moody, who's in the back and is our executive director of Farm War and is amazing. Yay, Joy. But the journey of the tomato, what we mean by that is to see where the tomato traveled from the beginning of the day to when it gets to the farmer's market, because my golly, does it have a journey. A lot of our farmers will come from Eastern Washington, so they will start their day 3, 4 a.m. In the morning and drive over the pass, if it's possible, during the times where there's snow or conditions that don't make it accessible, then they're not able to actually make it to the market. And usually it's the people that are actually the farmers that are coming from their farm to the market. And so when they leave the farm for a day, that's a day where they don't have the ability to actually work on the farm. They're doing all of the work, and if they don't have the ability to go, then they hire staff. But staff, they're able to pay usually a minimum wage, and it can be really difficult for them to find workers that can be consistent and sustainable for the long term, because it's so much manual labor. They're loading boxes from the truck into the booth and then vending throughout the day, and at the end of the day, they're bringing all that stuff back into the truck. And so it becomes very difficult for them to sustain good quality staff, and they find that their sales and their engagement is a lot better when they actually go to the market. There's several farmers that I can just think of right now. Foothills Farm, if anyone goes to the Ballard Farmers Market, we all know Matt that's there, and he hasn't been there for a while. And they've definitely noticed a little bit of a shift in their sales, because it's so amazing to be able to go to your third place and be able to actually talk with the person that picked the fruit, harvested the fruit, grew the fruits from their land, from their family, and being able to actually see the journey of the tomato from the moment it was, put into the earth, into the travels that I got to the market, and be able to actually talk with the farmer is something you can't get at your Fred Meyer, at your Safeway. And that's why I really cherish the space that we have at the farmer's market every single week.
Yeah, and one of the things I did, this was at the Queen Anne Market when I used to live up there, and what they're saying is, at smaller farms, sometimes they can't afford to hire a picker, so the family has to hand pick some of the berries and so forth. And to be clear, that is not a pleasant job. I've done it, and I can tell you it is a hard, hard job. And I'm going to go way, way back to like God, I feel like 50 years ago. In my previous life, I was an education reporter, and I was covering the East Side. And I was talking to this teacher who told me that they used to do field trips where they had kids pick blueberries. I think this is a farm in Bellevue. And she said she stopped doing that because she noticed that a lot of their middle-class kids on the East Side, they thought it was fun, it was great, you get to pick your own berries. But she noticed a lot of the ESL students, or a lot of the refugees, immigrants, they did not seem to have as much fun, and she didn't think much of it. But then she was talking to one Mexican parents, and they said, I mean, I didn't move to the United States for a better life to have my kids pick under the sun. This is not pleasant work. And she refused to let her kid participate in this field trip. So just a very different perspective. It's funny, just again, with the farm-to-table comparison I made, and this picking, we tend to look at things different here. And I think it's because we're just very provincial, myopic, because we're very fortunate, right, that we can get green beans out of a can, or what have you.
Can I add one extra little thing to that? So our nonprofit arm, Farm More, part of our mission is to provide sweat equity so that we can provide volunteers to go out on farms and do some of this manual labor for the farms so that they can, have a break and focus on other tasks. But what we struggle with the sweat equity is that the farmers want to be able to train everyone in order to pick the berries the right way, plant the seeds the right way, and if any little step is not right, it can ruin the entire season for their crop. And so right now we're working to find kind of a way to train the future farmers so that we can get in there more, it can be more accessible for our team so that we can really be trusted. But that's kind of a struggle that we're coming up against, is that we're trying to offer these programs to help the farmers, but there's so much education and knowledge, and there's not everyone can just go and just throw a seed in the ground. So there's that we're coming up against.
Yeah. And Meg, I want to ask you, because we talked about farm workers' perspective, farmer perspective, but you play a very important role in restaurants, and that is you train a lot of these people to be cooks and servers. And I don't think people look at it this way, so I just want to bring this out there. I don't think you realize the role that labor has on your food menu and your restaurants. Because what do you see out there now? You see a lot of fast casual. You see a lot of hot pots. You see a lot of seafood boils. You see a lot of tasting menus at higher-end restaurant. And what all these things have in common is labor-related, because fast casual requires fewer kitchen skills. Same with hot pot. Hell, you're cooking your own food, for crying out loud. And for something like tasting menus, canless, we need a cafe. The reason why, and this is not my opinion, they will tell you this, the reason why they started doing tasting menus is because it requires less labor, or they can't find people who have a lot of high skills. Because, and this is why, when you do a tasting menu, you have entered a social contract, and it is your first course will be a salad. So it's a table for 4, that's 4 salad. Boom, it's easy, right? But when you have a regular menu, and this is why they do tasting menu, when you have a regular a la carte menu, then everything can go, right? It's one person will have a salad, another will order fried calamari, a third person will order a salad with extra dressing, and now it requires more labor, and it's more intensive. So next time you see a menu, if you see tasting menu, fast casual, hot pots, seafood boil, just know there's a reason for that. Or one of the reasons for it. Which brings me back to you, Meg, because you provide a lot of training for the needy. Tell me some of these trainings that you provide. Because you provide them knife skills, right? Barista?
Yeah. We have 2 programs, main programs at Fair Start. That's our adult culinary food pathway training, and then barista and customer service. So For Fair Start, I'll back up on my team, social enterprise, we lead the businesses that provide the classrooms. So I look at my job as really our North Star, our students in training, but we also have a large staff on the team. So we're also an employer. We're a staff, we're trying to pay a living wage, we're trying to have a successful benefit package and be an opportunity employer for our staff, train them in trauma-informed care, de-escalation, and boundaries, so they can be present for our students. Our program goes in phases for our students. Not only do we do hands-on training in the kitchen, but we also have wraparound services, and we also talk what we call them durable skills, but they're transferable skills, things like resume building, time management, money management, be able to show up in the community, whether it's in the food service industry, but a lot of our students also go outside of the food industry. So it's a place to stabilize, get hands-on knife skills all the way to life skills, and be out and be successful in any industry they want. We use food as a tool at Fair Start, and we nourish the communities through our programs and through our restaurants. But we're not immune to the challenges of labor, whether it's putting it out for our students and also having a real trained staff and being the best employer we possibly can in Seattle.
Yeah. And how many have gone through the training program over the years? Do you have any sense?
Over the years, we've served over 15,000 youth and adults through the span of our 30 years. Those are stats I'm really proud of. We served over 19 million meals out to the community, whether that was that peak during COVID when we were doing 2 million meals a year. Right now, our community and school meals program provide about 500,000 meals a year out to the community, working with partners, getting food in the hands of those experiencing food insecurity. That is a big lift, so we have the staff employed to help with the logistics and the training, and then our students can have firsthand and training, not only training, building up their skills, but also take part in feeding the community. We hear that over and over again from our students, the pride they have in being able to prepare meals that they know are going out to the services that they've received and they're trying to get out of. And so we're really proud of our partners in the community, whether it's DSC, Compass Housing, the YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, everybody kind of joining together for the same fight that we all want to do, provide food, provide access, and train people to join us in that.
Yeah. Meg, the cost of food now in restaurants is sky high. That's why your menu, your dishes cost a lot of money. And you're a nonprofit, so I just assume that you have special rates in terms of food supplies, but you pay market rate.
I love that question. He called me on the phone. He said, "You're getting a discount on everything, right?" And I'm like, "No, food is not. I wish we had a discount. No, there is no discount. We, work with big providers. We try to keep the cost of goods down. I know we're going to talk about gleaning a little bit, but that is a challenge. The economic pressures, the cost of labor, cost of goods, and trying to serve nutritious meals in our community and school meals program. It's a challenge. We also want to do scratch cooking. I really double down on nutritious. We don't like to use processed foods. We're teaching the skills of building sauces and steaming and baking and roasting, so we don't want to do that with pre-purchased and pre-cooked meat. We want to use fresh produce, back to the knife skills, but that's increasingly challenging with the cost of food, cost of labor. But we're committed to it, and we're committed to finding ways to reduce those barriers to keep our students in the kitchens.
Well, Meg, you brought up gleaning, so you take it away. Tell people what gleaning is and how Fair Start use it.
I'm not the person that should talk about gleaning, but I
No,
can
but
talk
you
about
start-
how gleaning
but tell
it
me
is
how Fair Start-
Start. So we do partner with farms, Carnation Farms, Oxbow, among some. That is a real unique point for Fair Start where we can go support the farms in sending volunteers, gleaning the unused produce that doesn't go in the first take, maybe would go to waste. We can take that and then put it back into the community through our community meals. And so, I really should let Kelly speak more about it, but it's a huge point of the community to be able to be active out on the farms, also connected to Fair Start and the food that we're serving, and also to benefit the farm and then the end user of the food for sure.
Yeah. So Kelly, you take it away then, because the farmers market
Yes.
has gleaning program.
Yes. Each market that we run currently has a different organization that is operating our gleaning program. So Ballard, for example, there's an amazing community organization called Sustainable Ballard, and it's a bunch of volunteers that show up every Sunday and they walk around the market and they ask that question, is there any excess produce? And they take that produce and then they drive it over to the Ballard Food Bank. And similarly, our other markets have similar programs with Family Works. We're working on getting getting connected a little bit deeper with Fair Start as well. So we've got multiple organizations that we're working that are all volunteer-based, and thousands of pounds we're able to donate every year.
Oh, wow. And with the gleaning, how long has that been going on at the farmers market, or your farmers market?
At our farmers market, I don't know the exact timeline of it. I've been there since 2020, and it's been definitely running since then. And then I believe we've been open for 20 plus years, so I know we've always had some sort of program going on with the excess produce, especially on a Sunday for our Ballard market, because typically there's not a market that's happening till maybe Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. So we definitely get a lot of extra produce on a Sunday.
And is it the same problem that grocery stores have? Because grocery stores, they treat it like a beauty pageant, because they say that the food that don't look correct or right, like if a carrot doesn't look like a carrot, that's shaped like a cactus or a human stick figure, people won't buy it, so it just gets discarded. Is that a problem at farmers market? Because isn't it a surplus because it doesn't look like it's supposed to?
There's
What do you
always,
think?
typically, I'm sure people that have gone to farmers markets ask for seconds. So typically farmers will have a bin out that's called like the second spin, and they're a little bit more discounted, funky looking fruit, funky looking mushrooms, or maybe they're on their way out. So we offer that as well to shoppers. And then sometimes that's the stuff that does go to the food bank. But a lot of times still the bounty, the most beautiful veg and produce and fruits are going to the food bank as well.
Yeah, and I think that's the other problem is like all these supermarkets, the apples are all wax. It looks so beautiful, and it's all laid off in harmony. And I think that throws people off when they go to the farmer's market. It's like, that's not shiny or whatever because you don't wax it. Or it's because it's organic. You know, you're not messing with it. So back to the farm. I want to ask you about this because we talk so much about all the challenges that the farm workers have. But I think you have a lot of success stories too, especially you mentioned Whatcom County. Tell me about Whatcom County and this co-op program that I keep hearing about. I think you know it better than me.
Well, I mean, I think that cooperatives in general are a good thing for our economy, and it actually provides a way for workers to be able to be owners at the same time that they're producing. So what we have done as part of our organization, as we fight for workers' rights in the workplace, as we fight for better wages, as we fight for, heat rules and all kinds of protections against pesticides, we're also working with farm worker leadership, following their leadership on what they think, how they think that food should be produced, and really working with them to use their skills the way that they can grow food better. Because I think what you're all talking about, and you mentioned it, growing vegetables and apples and berries and all that, it is a really high-skilled job. I'm glad you said what you said, because if farm workers don't harvest the berries right, that whole next season is ruined if you break the buds wrong or you hurt the plants, and that covers everything. So what we've done is we've worked with the leaders in our farm worker movement to develop worker-owned co-ops, worker-owned farming co-ops. And we have a very successful farming co-op run by farm workers. The worker owners are farm workers. In fact, it's all women farm workers near Everson in rural Whatcom County called Tierra y Libertad, Cooperativa Tierra y Libertad. And they don't just grow organic food, because the first thing farm workers want to do is just not grow anything with chemicals or pesticides. So it's organic farming, but they're also farming the products that the farm worker community needs to eat in rural areas, especially in Whatcom County. So the main product of Cooperativa Tierra y Libertad is cactus, because in our culture and in our diet, cactus is a very healthy, food to eat, and our community can't find it fresh. It gets shipped all the way from California, some even from Mexico, and the community wants fresh cactus. And so this co-op is working very well. But the most important thing I think about our farm worker-owned cooperative is that they actually get to work the way they want to work. They actually get to monitor the heat rules themselves and take care of their bodies, and it's not production work like they do in regular farms. They get to set their own pace, choose their own products they're going to grow, and how they're going to grow it. And most importantly, I think one of the farm worker owners told me just a few weeks ago that when you're a farm worker and you're growing food for others, and you're growing it in the same piece of land and you take care of the land, that the land rewards you by blossoming better product. Because I was complimenting them on how the farm is doing so well. There's chickens, there's goats, there's multiple types of vegetables along with chiles and different types of squashes along with the cactus. And he said, we're rooting ourselves on this land, and the land is blossoming because they can feel us being on the land. And this land that we have, it's 60 acres that is owned by a land trust that we created. So they know that they can't be evicted from the land, they can't be kicked out, that as long as they farm and continue to do well, they're rooted in their stability, both in their families, in the community around them that they're feeding, but also in their own skills. They're beginning to be very creative on how they're growing all of these different types of vegetables. And that is an internal growth of dignity that is very public for them. Like the loss of fear of being displaced is gone, which means what you have now is a farm worker that is liberated to feed you better, liberated to steward the land. And this is our big goal really as an organization, is for you to perceive farm workers not as in trouble and needy all the time, but as a leader in your community that is active in the local food system, to begin to create a shift where we're part of improving the food system.
Yeah. And Rosalind, it's been a big success story. So
Huge.
I believe you recently purchased another property, or there's a Skagit Valley.
Yes,
co-op
this was
too.
in Whatcom County. But we've been approached by other farm workers in Skagit County who want to do the same thing. So we're very proud. Just a few weeks ago, we closed on 14 acres in Skagit County on McLean Road, right in the tulip route. And it's very, very, very healthy, productive land. So we're now going to be developing another farm worker-owned co-op in Skagit County, because we want to show you what it really looks like for farm workers to produce good, healthy food for you and take care of the land. That has not been seen. We're only production workers. We're wage labor for an agricultural industry that, in our opinion, has failed to recognize the value that we've brought to the economy and to local food systems.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we're very, very proud. So that's like, altogether we have a total of 84 acres that we've managed to put into, to have our land trust hold, and we're beginning to develop these worker-owned cooperative models, farm worker-led.
Yeah. Yeah. And Kelly, we talked so much about a lot of challenges of small mom and pop farms. Is there a farm that you dealt with that has really made it work in this challenging time?
One farm that comes to mind, we did a farm visit a few years ago. It's a farm up in Chimacum, Spring Rain Farm. Maybe some of you know that come to Ballard. And it was so lovely to go up there and get to know the operations, get to know the farmers, but also get to know the staff that they have. And they may charge a little bit more at their stalls, but after going there, there was this new awareness that I had of maybe the reason why. And their mission is to hire staff that they can take care of, that they can give health benefits to, that they can give housing to, that they can give some sort of guarantee of longevity in their role, and also education so that they can become future farmers themselves. So I know not every single farm can do that, but it gave me a new perspective when I go and actually purchase from Spring Rain of where my money is going to. And maybe we can't buy all of our groceries at the farmer's market, but everything in moderation, right? Everything in balance, and just being able to have a little bit that we spend at the farmer's market, talk a little bit with the farmers, get to know a little bit more about where our food's coming from and where our dollar goes, I think is something we should all invest in.
Yeah. And Meg, Here's the thing, Meg. I think you have one of the best kept secrets because I get calls every week about, hey, this restaurant or that restaurant. Like, where should I go to eat? And I think your guest chef night is one that's still really one of the best kept secrets because you attract some of the biggest names. And we're talking about names of chefs where you can't get a reservation, and yet they have these dinners for guest chef night. Tell me some of the names of chefs you had recently or will have.
We're so lucky. When we talk about Fair Start's community, it's the students, the staff, the donors, and the chef community that are always participating and giving their time to support Fair Start, but really showing up for our students and giving them exposure to what other chefs are doing and the creativity that the chefs use. So it's everybody from Melissa from Musang, Victor from Local Tide, so many different chefs across the city and kind of nonstop. We approach them and we say, hey, can you help? We have this thing we're trying to do on Thursday nights, 2 Thursdays a month, and they come in, work with our students. They can bring one person, they can bring themselves. We'll have the students and our staff ready to then produce
Students
this.
prep.
Students prep, yep. We say don't, sometimes people come fully ready, like they're coming to a catering dinner. We're like, no, we don't want that. We have a team of 8 students here eager to meet you and work with you and prep the food. So the favorite is like Kristen from Carnation Farm was there last week and brought everything from the farm, including the animals, the produce, all the above, and the students get to see firsthand the full cycle of the food and exposure to other chef styles and creativity. So yes, guest chef night, many people know here. It's the one thing that so many people know about Fair Start. And it's really a small piece of us bridging the gap from those furthest from opportunity, providing training, employment, and then exposure beyond with the Guest Chef Night series.
And I know that's the sexy part of the organization.
Sexy part.
But you guys provide, I believe, 2,000 meals to needy organizations and social services?
We do, yeah. Our contract meals, we have a community and school meals team, and we do contract meals to organizations at reduced cost.
Is that every day? 2,000
Every day.
meals?
We have 2 large production kitchens, one for school meals, one for community meals, large format, perfect for training, really. We have a team that comes in. It's about 2,000 meals a day, 500,000 meals a year. That means we have a whole fleet operation. We have the staff that the students can come in a phased approach and work at that large-scale commissary kitchens.
Oh, wow. Tell me some of the organizations, because they get discounted meals, right? They're not paying the market rate? Or
I wouldn't say discount. What we try to do is keep our costs low. Many of the organizations we work with get a CACFP reimbursement rate. I could talk all day about that. That's the government reimbursement rate to help offset costs of feeding the community. It's very low. The reimbursement rate is $4.26 or something for adult meals. So we try to keep our prices as close to that as possible. It's hard to do to also have a full staff, to also have a fleet. It's one of our biggest challenges in social enterprise is keeping costs low, nutritious, and scratch-made meals. But yeah, working with the community. Like I named a few, it's Compass, it's DSC, the YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, and helping them feed the people. So we don't do the last mile distribution. We rely on the partnerships working with the community to help with that.
Wow.
Do you think you might want to cook some cactus recipes?
Yes, I do. I love nopales.
It's very healthy.
Oh, Rosalinda, I think you were supposed to do something.
I would like to mention, I don't know how many of you saw the painting that is at the entrance. And that painting, it exemplifies how we as farm workers think about producing food and what we think of the land. But I'd like to introduce Brenda Espinosa. She is the artist. And also wanted to say that next year we're going to be having our own Farm Workers Tulip Festival poster in Skagit County. And we will be having a Tulip Festival event during the Tulip Festival. Would like to invite you all. But keep an eye out because this is going to be the first of many Tulip Festival posters from the farm workers. So you'll want a copy of it for sure. Brenda's an amazing artist. Thank you, Brenda.
Where did the time go? I could go on and on. But I was told I need to cut it short because I know quite a few of you still want to see the exhibit before it closes at 8 p.m. So I'm going to end it here. Thank you. Thank you, Meg. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Rosalinda. And thank you guys for coming out on such a stormy, wet night.
Check, check. I actually wanted to open up for Q&A if there were any questions. I think we have some time for maybe a couple.
At the risk of sounding really ignorant and maybe not the way I feel politically, I don't quite understand about H2A. And are the people that are the farm workers also not citizens, so they're more vulnerable than the people that come in on the H2A program because they come through a visa? What's happening there?
I think that, I'm not surprised. A lot of people do not know about the federal H2A program and the importation of workers, especially into Washington State. So there's a flyer that we've got out there on the table that explains a little bit more. But yes, these are workers contracted with a temporary worker visa that allows them to work in the United States. But the conditions that they're being kept here are very dangerous because these workers are tied to the employer. The housing conditions are, I can tell you the housing conditions for the farm workers that were imported in Sumas, Washington, it was a rural prison farm. The housing was surrounded by chain link fence and spikes and the whole thing. 750 workers plunked right down in the middle of this small community. So the H2A program is a big issue, and we are constantly having to, try to improve conditions and ensure that workers don't die. Ernesto Silva Ibarra died at that labor camp in Sumas, Washington, which is what started our campaign to really look into this program and try to stop the importation of workers. They have no rights. They have no collective bargaining rights. It's difficult to complain because they'll get deported. They don't know anybody in the community. They're there for the paycheck. So there's a lot, it's complicated, but it's a very important issue right now.
Are the farm workers also vulnerable because they're not citizens, or?
She's asking if the farm workers are also
The local
vulnerable
farm
if they're
workers,
not
you're saying?
citizens.
Yes, a lot of them are, but the majority, we have farm workers that are U.S. citizens that have been working for generations in the United States, but there are farm workers that are undocumented. Right now, there's like all of these issues coming at the farm worker community, impacting the labor issues with farm production, especially in rural areas. I just wanted to say also that it's shameful the way that we underprice food in this country. We know the real value of food. If you're buying cheap food, somebody's getting exploited. It's either the land or the human workers, the labor is getting exploited. So we need to really think about the price of food. It should be higher.
Yeah, I have a question about the farmers that are participating in the farmers markets. Farming is a very stressful, very time-consuming, very risky livelihood. Most American farmers, they tend to be both having non-farm jobs to make ends meet. I was wondering if the farmers at the markets, do they also have commercial wholesale avenues for selling their produce, or are they principally focused as that is their sole source of revenue?
It depends. It's kind of a combination. I can think of a handful of farmers right now that have corporate jobs at tech companies and also do farming. So it's kind of a mix of that. And then the majority of our farmers also do have like wholesale accounts where they sell their produce via wholesale and then also through markets. A lot of our farmers as well are doing multiple markets. Ballard is year-round, but our other markets are seasonal, and so we'll see them at all 4 of them. They're busy every day of the week. Farmers are the hardest working people I've ever interacted with in my entire life. I have so much respect for the work that they do.
Well, if there's no other burning questions, we are still open for another. Oh, okay, maybe one more, and then we'll leave some time at the end.
Hi, thank you. For the farmers market.
Sorry, we're recording this, so can you wait for the microphone? Yeah.
With the farmers markets, what of new farms, startup farms, that really want an opportunity, and then, you know, there are booths at the market that have been there forever. So how do you integrate newer farmers?
Great question. So our seasonal markets, which are typically a little bit smaller than our Ballard Farmers Market, we typically have some of our smaller markets start there. And there's many reasons for that, but one is to kind of handle the demand. Ballard is very, very big, and there's 10 to 20,000 people that can come into that market on any Sunday. So typically we have them start with our seasonal markets and then get their feet on the ground, and then all of those farmers then typically kind of integrate into our other larger markets. One of our missions as a farmers market is to help small businesses, farmers thrive, and to give them a platform for them to do that. And so that's what we're in the business of, is making sure we find farms that are small and we give them the tools, we help them along the way. Part of the Farm War organization that we run is all about supporting farms. We offer a grant program for our farmers, so if trouble happens, if there's drought, if there's crop failure, et cetera, there's money that we've raised through community donations to help support them so that they can thrive and be on 2 feet. We're always thinking about what's going on with our farmers, especially when disasters or weather strikes. We're always getting in communication with them to check in and see if there's anything we can do to help. So we're not just a platform for them to sell, we're also a place to help them thrive and help them grow.
Thank you. Well, that's a good segue to maybe first say thank you to all the panelists. This was super intriguing. And thank you to Tan for moderating and having such great questions. If you want to learn more about what everybody does, there's a table for each of the organizations just outside, so we invite you to talk to them there and support everybody doing the incredible work that they're doing.
Thank you.